All right, I hope this works. I am going live on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. So if there are any issues, hopefully somebody will tell me. I wanted to jump on today. This isn't going to be very long, but I really wanted to share what matters most in the stories you tell, because I know yesterday, if you saw me on Facebook, I talked about authenticity and how authenticity can be a double-edged sword. So if you haven't checked that out, you can go to my Facebook page and check out that video. But today I wanted to talk about if you've decided, you know what, I know I need to show up more in my business, and to do that, I need to share who I am. So you're going to be sharing stories. So I want to help you guys get equipped to do that. And to do that, one thing you need to know is what matters the absolute most in the stories you tell. So that's what I'm going to be diving into, but you're going to have to stick around to the end, because that's when I really share the gold. So I want to share a story with you, and this is something that happened last week. And I was in San Diego. I was there for a conference workshop thing, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's San Diego. The weather's always perfect. I was like right off of the water, had my lunch, walked by the marina. I live in Phoenix, so it was really, really nice to get out of the heat and met just amazing people. I mean, so great, right? First day of the event, and if you've been to conferences and things, you know these are long days, right? A lot is jam-packed in there. So I go, and it's a long day. I get back to my hotel room. It's like 10 o'clock at night, 12-hour day. I was exhausted. I just wanted to collapse and go to sleep because I was scheduled to speak the next day. Well, first of all, you need to know that it doesn't matter how beautiful or wonderful the location. I do not typically sleep well in hotels. So I don't know if you can relate. Drop an emoji if you're the same way. But it does not feel cozy. It does not feel like home. There's different sounds. The pillows never get totally comfortable. I just can't fully relax. Oh, and I use an eye mask to sleep, and of course I forgot that, so that makes it even harder. Yeah, I'm one of those people. Anyway, the other piece is that my husband and I sleep really cold, so we crank it down to like low to mid 60s while we sleep. So I get into my room and I go to turn down the air conditioning, and nothing happens. It does not start. It's late, I'm tired, and I kind of thought, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go to bed. But then I thought, no, I know I'm not going to be able to sleep if I just go to bed, so I better just deal with this thing. So I call the front desk and I tell them that my AC isn't working. They send somebody up. Thankfully, he comes quickly, and he gets in there and he's looking around, and he said, it's frozen. Like there's no air that's coming out of this tonight. So it was kind of annoying, but I thought, all right, whatever. It'll be a pain, but I can pack up my stuff and go to a different room tonight. So I call back downstairs and I said, it sounds like it's not going to work. So can I get a different room? No, you can't get a different room because we have 2 conferences going on tomorrow and we are 100% booked. You have to stay in that room. So they said, we can bring some fans up. And I'm like, great, I already don't have my eye mask, so I'm just going to be drying out my eyes, whatever. And so they brought up the fans, and I tried. Like, I really did try to get as good a sleep as I could, and I didn't. So I was already exhausted. I got very little sleep, and I'm scheduled to speak the next day. Well, thankfully, God is good. And when it was time for me to get up there and speak, I had this surge of energy, and I was really excited about what I was speaking about. I got to talk about how to have shifts in the way that you look at storytelling, and I got to dig into the most confusing or shame-filled questions that people ask me about storytelling and answer those. And I had the energy. I just, God brought it, and I was like, I'm going to give it my best. And the response that I got from people was that they were seeing big breakthroughs. They were seeing story differently, and they were realizing how they could use it. And actually ended up, several people asked me, if I could create a group program because they know they need to get more personal and engage in their businesses through story, and they want the structure, they want the help. So I was pretty blown away. This one talk helped so many people in that way. So what I want to ask you is, how are you letting your environment, letting mindsets, letting different things stop you from showing up and serving your audience to make a difference and change lives? Because I very easily could have said in that moment, you know what, I'm so exhausted. I just need to get through it. And if I can just get through it, then I will have fulfilled what I said I would do and move on. But I chose not to. I chose to say, you know what, whatever I'm able to give, I'm just going to give it. And frankly, I kind of collapsed afterward. I was really exhausted. But in that moment, whatever it is for you, your business, your life, maybe it's not even business, maybe it's something personally. In that moment, you make the decision. Do I raise this hand that has a victim card to tell people, and mostly yourself, it's mostly conversations with yourself, why you can't show up in that moment? Or do you say, you know what? Hey, I'm going to give the best I have with where I'm at today and raise the victor card. And with whatever you can, you're just going to show up and bring it and make that difference in the lives of your people. Okay, so let's step back from that. That is my story. And I told you at the end that we are going to talk about what matters most. So we're kind of going to dissect the piece that matters most. So I'm going to ask you, whether you're watching live or on the replay, what mattered most in the story that I just told you? I think a lot of people would probably say the end, that call to action where just challenging people to, no matter where they're at, just to show up with whatever you can that day. Because honestly, we don't know how long we have, right? So if we don't show up today, we may not have another chance to show up, and we need to make the most of this life. Okay, that sounds totally valid, but no, that actually was not the most important part of the story that I told you. Shocker, I know. So the most important part was the conflict. I know, if you haven't studied story, you might not realize that the conflict is the most important part. And so here's why. First of all, in just rules of story, if there's no conflict, there is no story. So if you have, any TV shows, any books you've read, any movies you've watched, how many of those does nothing ever go wrong the entire time? It's really important. Something has to go wrong, and it typically has to go wrong pretty early. That's why you have a story. Okay, so there has to be a conflict. So if I wouldn't have told you about what went wrong, just that, I was at this conference, it was wonderful, and I was scheduled to speak, didn't really get great sleep, but went on anyway, and it was really great. And I was able to help people. Would that have had the same impact? No. Here's why. You have to not only share a conflict, but you need to share a conflict and share enough detail that your audience will engage. So in this case, I needed you guys to feel my frustration and get frustrated with me enough to the point where you would care what came next, what my actual content was, which the content that I'm bringing is this part. The content actually wasn't the story. The content is what came next. But if I hadn't shared the story with the conflict that pulled enough detail to get you to make that emotional connection that I needed you to make, you wouldn't have cared enough to pay attention to this content. So for those of you who have great content, which I have no doubt that you guys are bringing great content, and you're wondering, why aren't people responding? This is really valuable stuff, information. The reason is you haven't connected with them emotionally so that they know why they should care, why this really matters, why it's valuable. You have to share why it's valuable before you share it. So I want to challenge you to show up in the conflict. That's not always easy. We don't always want to share what went wrong, but that is what's going to make your audience connect to you. Now, I also mentioned that when I spoke to this group, several of them asked me to put together a small group to get more clear on their core brand story and get the structure so that they can start showing up more. Well, I actually want to invite you guys to join us in that. So I am going to drop a link below. And if you want to know more about that and you want to share where you're at to see if this is right for you, let's hop on a quick call. This is going to be starting soon. It's going to be starting in early October, which is not that far away. And you will leave with the strategy piece of your story and your complete core brand story before Thanksgiving. So if that sounds good to you, this is actually the least expensive way I've ever done it, where you actually get to interact with me live. This is a live small group class. Then click on the link below and I would love to chat. And regardless, I hope you will start paying closer attention to the conflicts in your story so that you can get better results. All right, guys, have a great weekend. I'll talk to you later.